We have breaking news, you guys. It appears the DOJ has released more Epstein files, and Donald Trump is implicated in the worst way. To make things crazier, he decided to then start deleting this information. Literally, if you go there now and you click on the DOJ's link, the information is gone. But luckily for us, there were people that captured screenshots of that information. And what I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that it is very bad for Donald Trump. Let's go ahead and get into it. Let's start with the clip of the DOJ. They sound very, very nervous during this part of the conversation. Let's see what they're saying, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we have breaking news here, ladies and gents. This is very damning for Donald Trump and his administration.
Some of the victims of Epstein have expressed frustration with the entire process. I want to give you the opportunity to speak directly to them.
Well, I don't know what you're speaking to. I mean, if there's frustration with, quote, the entire process, same here. I mean, you have a situation where for many, many years, nobody even breathed a word about Jeffrey Epstein. And then all of a sudden, it was all anybody would talk about going into the last spring and summer, culminating in the passage of the Transparency Act. And President Trump has said for years what I think everybody will find to be exactly true, which is detailing his relationship and lack thereof with Mr. Epstein and what he thought about Mr. Epstein. And notwithstanding what the department has been saying for a very long time.
Now, remember, they are not showing you what I'm going to show you. Remember, the information was released and immediately deleted, but we got screenshots. Okay. Also, to this point that he makes that nobody was talking about Jeffrey Epstein, this is 100% false. Whitney Webb has been talking about this for a long time. Journalists have been talking about it. So I find it very interesting. He's like, oh, all of a sudden people want to know about it. No. People committed serious, serious crimes, and you guys tried to cover it up to protect your buddies. And that is a problem.
We're still where we are today. Listen, victims of Mr. Epstein have gone through unspeakable pain, and there's nobody that should say anything differently. And I to the extent that there's frustration, I understand where that comes from, just from what we know about Mr. Epstein. I hope that the work that the men and women within this department have done over the past 2 months hopefully is able to bring closure. I think that what we told our reviewers is that was the goal. You know, there's this mantra out there that, the Department of Justice is supposed to protect Donald J. Trump. And that's what we were telling. That's not true. That was never the case.
It was the case. And notice how nervous he sounds during this press conference. It definitely was the case, but it wasn't just about protecting Donald Trump. It was about protecting some of these donors, the donor class, the billionaires, people that are very much in powerful positions. So it's not just about protecting Trump, but yes, they were trying to protect him. And when you see the information that was captured, I think you'll start to understand why.
We are always concerned about the victims. When we said that we were not legally allowed to release documents, that's a fact. That was true. It remains true today. And then with the Act's passage, we are able now and directed to release documents, which is what we are doing. But so hopefully some of those frustrations are now eased. Listen, any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so, hopefully. If not, they should. The prosecutors from this case in New York have given hundreds, if not thousands of hours to working with victims. And that's what we do every day. And that's what we did in this case as well. So
very quickly, can you show?
So they have been running around the country arresting everybody else. They've been going after protesters, demonstrators, the little guys, the people who don't have the funds and the resources to get out of this jam, except for someone like Don Lemon, who was just arrested earlier today. That's another story. But the reality is most of the people that they've been cracking down on, they have this whole like tough on crime mantra. Most of the people they've been cracking down on are not people that are in a position financially where they can get out of this situation and they have the resources to come out on the better side of this. In other words, they're going after the 99%. They have not been trying to capture those that are a part of that 0.01% or the 1%. They're avoiding people in powerful positions. They have been running cover, not just for Donald Trump, but for all of the billionaire class, the powerful people that were on that island. They have been doing it. And honestly, this has gone on for years. It's not just this administration, it's every other administration that came before it that chose not to go down this path. So the reality is, they have been trying to fool people into making you believe that they're tough on crime. Look at us. Look at us arrest this protester. Look at us arrest this person, the little people, but not going after the head of the snake, not going after people that run this global trafficking network, because there is an attachment there to Israel's Mossad. And that's really what it comes down to. He said, you know, we know about Jeffrey Epstein, the things that he did to the victims was horrible, but it's not just Jeffrey Epstein. And he's still trying to gaslight the public by saying it's just Epstein. It's not just Epstein. Epstein had clients, and none of those clients have been arrested. And Jeffrey Epstein is presumably dead, that we know of. Ghislaine Maxwell's trying to work out a deal for herself. We'll go on a little bit more here.
Can you assure the American public that President Trump, like every other prominent person whose name came up in relation to the Epstein files, that all documents, photos, and anything relevant to him connected to the case are being released?
I mean, yes, I can assure that we complied with the statute, we complied with the act, and there is no, we did not protect President Trump. We didn't protect or not protect anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents. And there's nothing I can do about that. But
yes, it will be, because see, again, they deleted the information. Let's go to the next part here, because they forget the internet lives on. Also on MS Now, they were talking about this as well. I just want to show you what corporate media was saying, and then we're going to show you what we have.
Now, MS Now's Fallon Gallagher, Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, and an MS Now contributor, and Dave Ehrenberg, former state attorney for Palm Beach County. Fallon, let's start with you. What else did we hear from Blanche? And I know we're still combing through this trove of documents.
Yeah, Ariel, we learned a significant amount of information during this press conference, but the biggest headline is that the Department of Justice believes that they have met their obligation and that their work is complete under the Epstein Transparency Act, that this new drop of 3 million documents is everything that they feel that they need to deliver. Now, there is one caveat. They said that there could be a small amount of documents that we could get. They are working with the Southern District of New York, asking a judge to unseal the grand jury material related to the 2019 investigation and eventual indictment against Ghislaine Maxwell. But there are a number of headlines here. The biggest thing is that Todd Blanche is saying that there is no super secret tranche of additional documents, that this is everything. They said that any claims that the DOJ is working to protect the president is not true. We know that in this new trove of documents, which we are still reviewing, there are a number of them, is that they have decided to redact every single woman. This is a departure from something that we saw in the first trove of documents. There were women who were apparently not victims, who were not redacted. They then, you'll remember, there were some mistakes. They had to go back and remove some documents because they needed to redact them, because there were concerns that they were releasing identities of victims. So this time they've decided to just redact everybody. And the one really notable thing there is that they are also redacting men if the men's presence in a photo or a video or anything otherwise makes it impossible to redact the identity of the woman. And so there is a possibility that we could see some men redacted in this new drop. But we also know that Todd Blanche is saying that there are probably not any new men who would be convicted of wrongdoing here, and that if they do discover any, they would, of course, prosecute them. But again, we are still going through these documents. It is a very large volume of documents, 3 million. This will take our team some time, but as soon as we have anything reportable, we'll bring it right to you. Ariel?
Yeah. Let's go on a little bit more.
Thanks so much, Fallon. I know you'll stick around for that. Lisa, we now have our senior legal reporter, Lisa Rubin, with us. Lisa, you know, Blanche was adamant, as Fallon mentioned, that the DOJ is not protecting President Trump. I don't know if we have the sound that we can play there of him talking about this. We have it? Okay. In the meantime, it was
or not
okay. We have it.
Anybody. I mean, I think that there's a hunger or a thirst for information that I do not think will be satisfied by the review of these documents.
So essentially alluding to the fact that no matter what's released at this point, it's not going to satiate those out there that just want to see names, they want to see photos, they want to see all of this. What do you make of Blanche's comments specifically when it comes to the president and what we may or may not see here?
I don't think that's a fair comment, and I'm going to try and be measured in my words, Ariel, because as I was discussing during our last hour with Ana Cabrera, the very existence of the Epstein Files Transparency Act is a product of a reversal by the Department of Justice. Trump came into office aligned with a whole movement of people that believed that there was a massive conspiracy around Jeffrey Epstein and the suppression of evidence and information about his sex trafficking ring. And they encouraged those voices. They told those voices that they would be listened to, and they promised that files related to Jeffrey Epstein would be released. And indeed, when they came into office, they initiated a process of reviewing these documents. They brought in people from the FBI and people from the National Security Division at the Department of Justice. We know this because multiple publications reported on this rampantly throughout the spring. And then sometime in or around May, Deputy Attorney General Blanche and others told the president about instances in which his name had come up and those of people close to him had come up. And somehow that resulted in a memo unsigned in July of last year, where the FBI and the Department of Justice essentially told us there's nothing more to see here. We don't believe it's in the public interest for us to release anymore. Somehow in Mr. Blanche's mind, that's transmogrified into a, we were legally not able to release anymore until the Epstein Files Transparency Act was put into place. That's also not true. They did need judicial permission to release some small modicum of what we're going to see, things that were grand jury materials or otherwise produced in discovery in the two criminal cases. But other than that, this is a situation largely of this administration's own making and a miscalculation politically by them of.
Right. They were the ones that said that they were going to deliver the Epstein files. Now, to be fair, could the Biden administration have also done this? Absolutely. But Joe Biden didn't say that he was going to do it. Donald Trump and his administration said that they would. So they really put their foot in their mouths with this one. And I don't know what Trump was thinking. I don't know if he just thought maybe, you know, his stuff would not be in there, but it definitely is. It definitely is. And we're going to get to it now. So all hell has officially broken loose. And of course, like, we're going to start with one of the articles and then we'll go to the other screenshots because everything is not in one place. To make a long story short, like I said, people took screenshots because, again, they deleted it. They deleted the information as soon as they realized, I guess, that Trump was there. I wouldn't be surprised if Trump told them to take it down. What are they going to do? Tell him no? So listen to this. Epstein files. Breaking news. Underage girl claims that Trump forced sex. It's bad. It's bad. So brace yourself for this as we get into these here. Bombshell allegation in the latest Epstein file document release. An underage girl claims that she was forced to perform oral on Donald Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. And here is a screenshot of that. Here again, they're going to be in different places because people are taking different screenshots, but this is the person's name redacted. Blank reported an unidentifiable female friend who was forced to perform oral on President Trump approximately 35 years ago in New Jersey. The friend told Alexis that she was approximately 13 to 14 years old when this occurred. And the friend allegedly bit President Trump while performing the act. We're on YouTube. I have to be PC about this. The friend was allegedly hit in the face after she laughed about biting President Trump. The friend said she was also abused by Epstein. Response. Spoke with caller who identified blank as friend. Lead was sent to Washington office to conduct interview. That's one piece of it. We'll get to the other ones in just a second. The document says the feds forwarded the lead to the Washington office to conduct an interview. And I got to say this. So that person was apparently 13 or 14 years old at the time. All of these people that you have seen in the past couple of months try to normalize the behavior, sexualization of someone who is not pre-adolescent. This all just says a lot. And I have continued to push back on that. And I told you guys that teenagers, 15, 16 years old, their brains are not fully developed and they do not have this ability to consent, especially to an adult. An adult has a brain that is fully developed. A teenager does not. They are underage for a reason. And there's reasons why we have certain laws like this in place to protect them. This young girl was 13 to 14. So, as Megyn Kelly was like, whoa, I mean, person was 15. It's not like they were like 8 or anything like that. Nick Fuentes also tried to make that argument. And I have been warning you guys time and time again, there are certain actors in the sphere that are trying to normalize sexualization of teenage girls. Alan Dershowitz wrote an article years ago saying that the age of consent should be lowered. So everybody needs to pay close attention to what is trying to be pushed here. I feel like this is really, for those of you who are Christians, for example, that this isn't right. And you have people who are Christian that are trying to normalize this behavior. So I would actually call that to be demonic, not Christian-like. Let's go on a little bit more here in the article. Another allegation, which the feds deem not credible, is from a female who claims she was a victim and a witness to a sex trafficking ring at Trump Golf Course in Rancho Palos Verdes, California, between 1995 and 1996, involving big orgy parties with young girls, older Victoria's Secret models, and celebs like Trump, Bill Clinton, and Robin Leach. Robin Leach is this guy. He used to host this show called The Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, for the younger people who are not aware. So interesting, his name is here, but they said they're not sure about that one. The documents say the feds got a call from a female who claimed to be a prisoner, and they reference Lisa Marie Presley, the British royal family, Trump, Jeffrey Epstein. The feds say they were unable to contact the woman who lived in Australia. And we all know that Virginia Giuffre was also living in Australia. It's interesting that Lisa Marie Presley's name was mentioned because we all know the story of Elvis and Priscilla. Priscilla was 14 years old when Elvis Presley started dating her. So interesting that she was mentioned there. Let's go on a little bit more here. Another allegation is from a woman who claims she was 13 years old and pregnant in 1984 when she was forced to perform oral acts. She told the feds she was sex trafficked by high-profile individuals and that Trump regularly paid her money to force her to perform sexual acts. She also alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. The feds say they are unable to contact the woman. Doesn't this sound similar to what was revealed in that alleged audio from Sasha Riley? Remember that we were talking about the Sasha story? One of the things that Sasha said is that there was people who were killed, allegedly. Goes on here, a different caller who the feds were unable to make contact with alleged a friend thought that she had been assaulted by Trump in 1987 at the Trump Plaza. And as I said before, when you look at these pictures, these people weren't just acquaintances. These people were friends, and they were good friends to each other, right? They were closer than they tried to say that they were. Here's another one that's really interesting is the Calendar Girls situation. Another caller who the feds say did not leave contact info claimed that Trump had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls, where Epstein would bring children and Trump would auction them off. The caller claimed Trump measured the girls' private areas, you can see that there, by penetrating them with his finger and rating them based on tightness. The caller alleged the party guests, including Elon Trump, Ivanka, Eric Trump, Alan Dershowitz, there's his name again, and Bob Shapiro. The caller claimed she and others were taken into rooms and forced to give oral to Trump. She alleged they were forced to allow them to penetrate them. She claimed she was 13 when Trump assaulted her and that Ghislaine Maxwell was present. And we all know Ghislaine Maxwell has been trying to find a way to lessen her sentence. So let's go on to some of these other screenshots here. Midas Touch, a bunch of people are sharing them. Thank goodness they were able to get these screenshots at that time. I just want to show you so you can see it yourself from the files. Here's the story about the Calendar Girls. Donald Trump, the president, had parties at Mar-a-Lago called Calendar Girls. Jeffrey Epstein would bring them in. Trump would auction them allegedly. And we've read this part here about, yeah, we don't need to read that again. I just want to show you the actual where these files exist. You can also see here's the one about the 16 years old. At 16, while modeling, caller attended 8 parties at Epstein's New York residence. On one occasion, the caller reported she was assaulted by Epstein. On another occasion, 2 twin brothers, Alan and Orrin, lured the caller and her friend upstairs, but they escaped back downstairs. Caller said that Orrin assaulted her best friend, and a third brother, Tall, assaulted a 14-year-old girl named Blank. The caller named other individuals involved in big orgy parties with her and other young girls, Victoria's Secret models, including Bill Clinton and Donald Trump. You see the second column here, it says notable names, so they list the names here. We talked about the Rancho Palos Verdes one. That's the one they said they weren't sure about. And here's another one. Complainant claims to have video of high-profile sex party dealing with cartels, having witnessed Robin Leach strangle a young girl to death at a party. So again, allegedly, Robin Leach, the guy who hosts the lifestyles of the rich and famous. So again, we're starting to see some similarities with what we heard from that alleged audio from Sasha, who was a boy at that point in time, that said he was also trafficked in this ring. It gets crazier. Let's go on more. I am so sorry it's so tiny, you guys, and it doesn't let me make it bigger because it's on Twitter, but I'm going to do the best that I can here. Just coming right about here. Here's the one about Texas. Complainant reported his ex-girlfriend Blank were victims of Epstein and one was murdered. There's another one that says someone was murdered. While working as a limousine driver, the complainant recalled picking up Donald Trump in 1995 to take him to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. During that ride, the complainant recalled some of the things Trump spoke about on his cell phone were very concerning and described being a few seconds from pulling the limousine over on the median. It's the lane in between lanes on the road. And within a few seconds of pulling him out of the car and hurting him due to some of the things he was saying. The complainant noted Trump repeatedly stated the name Jeffrey while on the phone. One of the complainant's ex-girlfriends named Blank told the complainant Trump assaulted her, as did Epstein. This is the part about Lisa Marie Presley, which we got into that part. Let's get to this one here. Complainant following up after a call with NYPD officer regarding her previous tip, reporting that she was forced to perform sex acts when she was 13 years old and pregnant in 1984. Complainant also reported there were high-profile individuals involved in sex trafficking and the murder and disposal of her newborn daughter. This is one of the ones I told you guys about before. Complainant reported Donald Trump participated regularly in paying money to force her to perform sex acts with him, and alleged Trump was present when her uncle murdered her newborn child. So we know about that story as well. Here's another one. Caller was taken by boat to Epstein's Island. Caller said it was complicated and involved Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. She said, it says the caller became a school counselor and had a meeting with the school principal, Linda Kitts, and a police officer where the caller was informed there were pictures of herself with Epstein. The caller reported the school was mad at her for not being a Trump person and that the school wanted her to testify and say things against Andrew Cuomo. The FBI and Donald Trump were on the phone during the meeting. The caller believes the FBI has baby pictures of her with Epstein. So all these names that are being mentioned, Andrew Cuomo, right? And here you see the school was basically wanting her to protect Donald Trump. They wanted to protect him. You see how they cover for the wealthy and the powerful? Here's another one. Caller reported that in 1987, a friend, victim one, was out drinking and ended up at Trump Plaza. Victim one saw Donald Trump and wanted to meet him. An unknown approached her and offered to introduce her to Trump. The unknown man gave victim one a drink, and victim one woke up naked and sore with $300 on the bed. Victim one didn't remember how she got to the room. She remembered seeing a flash of Trump's face. Victim one called the caller and told her she thought that she had been assaulted. Victim one did not go to a hospital to have a kit performed because she didn't think anyone would believe her, especially because she was drunk. And this is also not uncommon. People who are victims of SA, the majority are less likely to report it. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. Let's go on here. Victim one, husband's business had problems with suppliers, and victim one believed Trump was behind it. Victim one also started dating a lawyer, identifier unknown, who was married. Victim one had a fight with her lawyer boyfriend and went to a bar. Victim one left a bar with a man who no one in the bar recognized, but who seemed familiar with the victim. Victim one was never seen again. A few years ago, remains were discovered that matched the description of what victim one was wearing when she went missing. DNA tests at the time were inconclusive. It's getting really bad. It's not just Trump that's named. There's something else dropped now about Bill Gates. Bill Gates was allegedly asking Jeffrey Epstein for antibiotics to secretly give to his wife, Melinda Gates. To add insult to injury, you them implore me to please delete the emails regarding your STD. Your request that I provide you antibiotics that you can serendipitously give to Melinda and the description of your genitals. You also made it clear to me that I am not to refer to blank, as that is another topic that must remain between the two of us. And you can see that highlighted here. Email, it says it's from Jeffrey Epstein right up here at the top. Subject, Bill. And you can see that's the text that I just read you. That's highlighted right there. So Bill Gates also implicated in this. However, what I thought was interesting, what Keaton said here, he said, love how MAGA is pretending Bill Gates' antibiotic story is a bigger Epstein revelation than dead sex slaves buried under Trump's golf course. This is another one. Complainant reported participating in orgies and that some girls went missing, rumored to have been murdered or buried at the facility. Complainant reported being threatened by Trump's then head of security that if she ever talked of what went on there or who she saw, he would end up as fertilizer for the back nine holes like the other see you next Tuesdays. The audio from that was allegedly from Sasha doesn't sound too crazy now, does it? And like I said, they went to delete them, right? So when it was announced, again, we all clicked on the link and all of a sudden it was gone. The Justice Department has deleted these files, which had various allegations against Trump, including sexual assault and trafficking. A cover up is underway. So we have continued to say on this show, and others have said it as well, that Donald Trump was covering either for his friends, himself, or both. And as more information is revealed, you get to see that Donald Trump's hands are not clean. Now, if Donald Trump would have said, just release everything, and if he didn't make the statement and say there's nothing to see here, just let it go, it's a Democrat hoax, then you might be able to feel, you can say, okay, well, he wasn't trying to cover up the information. But because he came out with these statements that it was a Democrat hoax, because he then later said, there's nothing to see here, just let it go and let's move on, you can't say he wasn't trying to cover it up. No, he's not the only one, of course, that is named, but he's the president of the United States. And he's named multiple times. Too many incidents. These are just the ones that people were able to grab screenshots of rather quickly before it was deleted. So you pay attention to all the chaos that has been happening with this administration. Back to back to back. Right now, they're just itching to attack Iran, right? One thing after another. All the craziness with ICE. Escalating foreign policy disasters. Whether it's Venezuela, whether it's the boats in the Caribbean. Look here, look there, look everywhere. It's a boat. It's a plane. No, it's not Superman. It's Donald Trump and the Epstein files. So now that this has been released and it's announced out there, pay close attention to Iran. He's probably going to attack sometime soon. Donald Trump has been trying to get you to turn your head at every turn. And I always said, and I continue to say, don't forget about the Epstein files. So Donald Trump told Marjorie Taylor Greene that his friends could get hurt. But I even said back then, he's probably talking about himself too. This is not good. Regardless of how you feel about the situation, all these different stories that are being reported is not good. Now, people say, well, the Epstein victims who came forward said that Trump did nothing wrong. This is true. Those are the ones who came forward. Those are the ones that were at the press conference with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie. Those aren't all the victims. Think about that. Virginia Giuffre is dead. Her book tells a lot. You should read it. How it implicates prime ministers, former prime ministers like Ehud Barak. The reality is these files get back to Israel. Epstein was Mossad. He was just basically a spy. And he gathered a lot of blackmail on powerful people. And I believe that Mossad, Epstein, Israel all together has been blackmailing people in this country and other countries for quite some time. So that's the breaking story, ladies and gentlemen. Was not expected to do a video today, but I said, no, I have got to cover that because I was like, you know what? I got time. And this is not good. This is not good. He keeps trying to run away from this. And the reality is, if they wouldn't have backpedaled, if Donald Trump wouldn't have said it's just a hoax, don't listen to it, things could have been differently. Don't know. I mean, he's still in there. But people tend to think if you have nothing to hide, you're not going to try to cover something up. But if you do have something to hide, you will. All hell breaks loose. Hey guys, this was a savvy clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.